As the PlayStation 1 loads, so are these, the wrestling games that we rank.
They're not all wrestling games, you jerk.
Hello everybody, and welcome to VGWA World. I'm Cobretti.
And I'm Wally.
And thank you for joining us today as we continue to march on with Wrestle Rank, as we rank all the console wrestling video games.
Okay, Cobretti, you say that. Today better be a good one, because we've been kind of sinking in these wrestle ranks lately.
Alright, Wally, we're gonna break out the big guns. That's right, we're going to our friends, Asmik, and one of their published wrestling video games.
Cobretti, you come up with a great idea. Finally, we're going to be like all those other channels that focus on one video game. WWF No Mercy. Great job. Let's get started on it because everybody loves that. And the WWF 2000 games. Let's do it. Jump right in.
Wally, we're not going that far into the future. Asmik Ace had to start publishing wrestling video games sometime, so we're going to be looking back at what could be a undiscovered hidden gem for most of our listeners.
Whoa! Did you discover a No Mercy like that we haven't heard of, that nobody's played?
Today, we're going to be looking at a wrestling game released on the Sega Mega Drive.
Oh boy, I'm being geared up for the biggest disappointment of the day.
In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing and ranking Cutie Suzuki, No Ringside Angel, developed by Copia Systems, published by Asmik. Look at that badass lenticular cover. There's no way this is going to be a bad video game.
Yeah, the cover looks really cool. So I'm going to take it that girl who's flexing those little arms is Cutie Suzuki. You know what? Who is Cutie Suzuki? Never heard of her. And I never heard of this game. Probably like most people listening to this.
She is kind of the Johnny Gargano of Joshi Women's Wrestling. A fairly decent in-ring hand, but little to no charisma.
Wait, how could you have no charisma when you're an idol in Japan? I mean, she appeared in the movies The Ninja Dragon and Battle Girl, The Living Dead in Tokyo Bay. That's got to amount to something. That's charisma.
Hey Wally, guess what?
We have a commercial?
Why, no. No, we don't. But we'll get to see the charismatic Cutie Suzuki awkwardly playing 9.5 minutes of this game.
Really? We're going to play 9.5 minutes of her playing a game?
No, we're going to speed it up.
Or you could check out Lariato Gaming, who has the full video. First part that is really awkward is to zoom in on her face. The second awkward moment is she's playing a game that we don't even see. So, actually, I'm going to say she's a great actress. She faked that for 9.5 minutes.
Well, if we're being awkward, we might as well have an awkward segue. And to help all our viewers not be awkward playing this video game, you can look up our translated manual at archive.org with the link provided below in the description. And let's start to play the game. They were really hoping that this idol wrestling crossover was going to pay off. Well, Wally, no more delaying. Let's pop this cart into our Sega Mega Drive and play some Cutie Suzuki No Ringside Angel. And usually, we start these reviews talking about graphics, but this time, we're gonna talk about the sound design. Because whenever the game opens up, you may notice that it is one of Cutie Suzuki's idol songs playing in the background.
Cobretti, that only had 67 listens. I see her music career was just as good as her wrestling career. Unremarkable. Because not everyone could have a wrestling career like my pal, Ahmed Johnson, Hall of Fame 2024. Since we know everybody is just so excited about the audio portion of this video, we're going to summarize the rest. Most of it is rubber band sounds whenever you're bouncing off the ropes, hitting the mats, punching and kicking. And the rest is music playing, and as the characters become more damaged and worn down, the music changes into more Castlevania type audio. I like Castlevania.
Wall meat. All in all, the audio design for Cutie Suzuki is nothing spectacular, but it's not horrible either. So up next, let's talk about one of the more controversial aspects of this video game. the graphic design.
What do you mean controversial? Oh, all the belly buttons?
Fat-bottomed girls, you make the rocking world go round. If you look at some of the Japanese reviews for Cutie Suzuki No Ringside Angel, they actually critiqued the girls for being thick.
Hey, Cobretti, I'm slightly disappointed in you right now. You didn't sing it. I think the crowd wants to hear you sing it.
No.
That explains why Colonel Sanders is in the crowd. He's selling you some thighs.
This game was controversial because they stated that Cutie Suzuki No Ringside Angel was over-sexualized for a video game. And honestly, I have to tell you, I find it to be a little bit more on the tamer side, especially when comparing it to future video games such as Rumble Roses.
We were just coming out of the 80s with Jane Fonda workouts and their leotards. So there is no way these could be that sexualized.
There is a nod to bunny girl outfits at the beginning of the game, but all in all, I would still call it pretty tame. And yes, while it may offend some of you, it's hard to believe that people were such up in arms about belly buttons.
They are awkwardly included, and if you really think about it, belly buttons collect lint.
And as for the character models themselves, they are large and detailed. And this game has some of the best graphics we've had in a video game thus far.
This game does have some good graphics for the time. Look at the crowd. The crowd is very excited, very visualized. You can tell who's who. Colonel Sanders, Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can even make out Howard Finkel as the referee. And the sprites of the characters are really well developed. On the downside is I think it took away from the frame rate. It does slow down quite a bit in some of these matches.
The slowdown, along with the control scheme for this game, makes the gameplay a little bit not as fun as maybe it should be.
There is a learning curve to the controls, but once you master it, the game becomes simple and easy to play.
However, the more difficult aspect of this game is that you have your A button and B button, which perform wrestling maneuvers that are already predetermined. However, the C button performs the wrestling maneuver that is shown in the top left window. And since those maneuvers are in Japanese, you really don't know what you're going to perform. Sometimes it's a submission, sometimes it's a suplex.
This knocks it down a peg because most players are not fluent in Japanese, including us. Though playing the game with a non-speaking Japanese player as well makes the game just as equal and fun to play with. But when you're playing against the AI, it does become a hindrance and troublesome for you. But you shouldn't let any of this deter you from playing the game. Not understanding Japanese is not a hindrance to actually enjoying and playing this video game.
Plus, the game does offer some variety with 8 additional wrestlers to choose from in addition to Cutie Suzuki, with each of these wrestlers having a unique moveset from a selection of 13 maneuvers.
On top of those movesets, there's also reversals in this game, which we haven't seen since Fire Pro. It was great watching me throw Cobretti off the top rope. Woo!
And to add more variety, the game has multiple game modes. In the single-player mode, you can work towards 5 different championships, which each championship having a different mode. It alternates between a single elimination tournament and a point-based system. You also have your regular 2-player versus mode and the first wrestling video game to feature a non-hidden watch mode.
Holy crap, Cobretti! You actually gave us a real wrestling game that I enjoyed. That had actually wrestling moves. That had actual sounds of wrestling. It wasn't like all those other stupid ones making me play that say, oh, they're wrestling, but they're really not. So you know what that means. I think this game is okay.
And you know what, Wally? I'm in agreement with you. This game is okay. And bum 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 bum, it is time to bring up the Wrestle Rank list. Wally, I think it's safe to say that Cutie Suzuki No Ringside Angel belongs above the Kinnikuman line.
I agree with you, Cobretti. I think it goes above the Kinnikuman line. Just above the Kinnikuman line and below Mat Mania. If the game had more translation, had a little more accessibility to the US, I think it would have been above the Mat Mania line.
The move window associated to the C button that contained moves that were in purely Japanese does take a little bit back from this video game. And the clunkiness of the frame rate doesn't help this game as well. But in actuality, it was a fun, functional wrestling game. And I agree with you, Wally. That Cutie Suzuki, no Ringside Angel, belongs just above Kinnikuman, but below Matt Mania. So make sure to join us next time, as in the next episode of Wrestle Rink, we'll be looking at WWF WrestleMania Challenge for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
But when are we going to play the good games, Cobretti? Cobretti? Hey. Hey. Cobretti. Hey, where are you going? Come back.